Hello, everyone. Hi, Patrick. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Hi, okay. Okay, let's start. I ran actually from my car straight to the studio. Bit of a traffic jam in Prague. So, Patrick, welcome again to our interviews. And let's talk about data centers today. Let's talk about products and technologies of Arista Networks for data centers. And as usual, we have only 30 minutes. So let's go straight to the first question. I do remember like 12 years ago when we bought the first Arista switch. It was actually called Arista. It was a different name. And those days it was a bit off in a positive way of what was available in the market. So you got this, 10G ports, low latency, and all these quite unusual things. So what after 12 years, what does Arista bring to today's data centers?
Yeah, sure. So maybe you can give me the privileges to share my screen so I can show some slides I have prepared. So basically, I mean, you just mentioned it. Yeah, now it's working. Thanks. So you really kind of mentioned it. Just let me minimize that. What customers can expect is basically, first of all, innovation, right? You mentioned 10G those days. Now we are talking about 400 and 800G. So, I mean, let's shortly kind of talk about what we have in terms of our portfolio. So just let me move that. So basically what we do different is we have not that many verticals like kind of, service provider, enterprise, data center, and so on. We have kind of a broad portfolio, but really focused on hardware and kind of ASIC side of things. So basically, what we are doing, I mean, the difference between having kind of fixed boxes and having chassis, I think that's obvious, right? That's for better scaling, but real differentiation we do is based on kind of volume or value, how we call it. Basically here we have merchant silicon, the Trident family, Tomahawk family, which is really kind of great in kind of having a broad feature set you're gonna need in the enterprise or data center, or even on the routing side. But if you go to the high scale routing side of life or service provider feature sets, you're basically on the Jericho family, right? So on the right side. So what we are doing is we're developing products based on customer needs, right? And not based on verticals. And that's pretty cool for our customers because we have kind of the same hardware. Doesn't matter if you're a campus customer, doesn't matter if you're a data center customer. And the really nice thing about on all of that, we have a single operating system running on top of that, right? So what you can have is from 1G to 400G nowadays, different kind of versions of port counts and so on and so forth. We have kind of pretty much a broad portfolio in that kind of perspective, running a single image, right? And that's what I think is pretty cool. Also, we have different flavors of the image. And basically, another benefit is we have the same management tool for all of our systems, right? We don't split it in verticals. The enterprise customers have the same management tool like data center customers, right? And that's pretty flexible and giving you great opportunities. It's easing up your operations. You have a single management plane, a single pane of glass over a single image running on multiple boxes for different purposes.
And that includes Wi-Fi and security products, right?
Yes, sure. Yeah, I have a slide later on where we talk a little bit about that, right?
Okay,
but that's true.
So let's go back to the EOS. EOS seems like the key component of all of your products. So what's the main difference between EOS and other network operating systems?
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting because what we are doing is we have the one kind of operating system strategy, right? So one single binary for all of our platform. Doesn't matter if it's kind of a box used for service provider routing or high scale routing stuff, or if you have it in the campus or data center, doesn't really matter. So, and basically that single binary image is kind of one important thing we believe makes our customers' life easier. And that operating system has to be pretty stable, it has to be flexible, and it has to scale. And what we think, people might know that Arista is really like going that open standard path, right? So we don't want to do any proprietary stuff, we want to be fully open. And that's also within our EOS, right? We use a standard Linux nowadays based on CentOS, right? It's completely the standard stuff you can also get from public mirrors. So we're not kind of really modifying that stuff. Why? Because we want to give you the kind of advantages of, when a security issue maybe come up, right? Affecting some Linux variations. We want really to have that kind of community contributing to that stuff, so we can pretty patch or we can pretty fast or let me call it like that, we are pretty fast in patching that stuff. Why? Because it's not modified, it's truly standard and open. And the other cool thing is that on top of that open operating system, we have our own stuff, right? Basically running as agents or processes, and that's completely running in isolated user address space. So agents are not allowed to talk to each other, right? So that kind of shrinks the failure domain. It does scale better, right? And how kind of everything is put together, that's our NetDB or systemdb, how it's sometimes called. And basically that NetDB is containing everything which is relevant from an operation side. So every state from all of our processes, all of our agents are kind of in that NetDB. And the cool thing is we are leveraging a publish and subscribe model where agents can kind of subscribe and kind of commit interest in receiving any updates, and agents are publishing kind of updates. Think about the interface manager detecting, hey, there is an interface up now. We don't want to have the interface manager speak directly to spanning tree, for example, right? That doesn't scale, right? So the interface manager is kind of responsible to pushing that state to the NetDB, and NetDB is delivering that to the processes who are interested, kind of who have subscribed, and that might be the spanning tree agent. So a spanning tree agent is getting the update, hey, there is a new interface which is up, so go on and do your job. And that's pretty cool because that allows us also to have hardware abstraction, and that leads to the single binary strategy. So basically, what are the advantages for the customer, right? Basically, you have fault isolation, right? So one process doesn't affect another one. We can immediately repair failed agents, for example, and we can do hitless software upgrades, ISSU. So basically, we can install security fixes, bug fixes as an RPM package without any reload to happen, right? And of course, another benefit is we are, as Arista, I think we are widely known for being open and integrating with other guys as well, other vendors, and that's also true here because we allow, because of that architecture, to have really stable and cool third-party integrations, right? And why is it different? I mean, that slide shows it really well. I mean, here you can see the legacy spaghetti code type of anything we did in the 80s and 90s, right? That's not scalable. And when, for example, one process is failing or something has changed and basically that other process was not updated or informed, right? That a failure or a misbehavior of one process is easily affecting many others, right? Because they are directly committed. And that's not the case with us because we are pushing everything into our NetDB, and basically all the subscribed agents are getting updates. And the cool thing for the customer is because we have one image, it allows us to do around 40K tests automated per day for every test case. Every feature is tested on every platform for every supported release. And that's pretty cool because that ensures high quality. So high quality is not something we put on slides. High quality comes basically from the software architecture. The last thing I want to mention, right, because of time, our software is basically available as our standard EOS. You are kind of downloading and running and uploading, running on your boxes, right? The hardware boxes, but also as cloud EOS in virtual machines, or you can run it as a container. So we have a containerized format, and that's pretty cool because now you have the advantages of EOS, not only in your physical data center, but you can extend it beyond maybe in the cloud or in your Kubernetes stack. So basically you can leverage the advantages of EOS everywhere, and the state streaming as well, right? Because that's really something nice for operational stuff. You can have the streaming, you have all the APIs now everywhere, not only on the hardware, but also in the software.
Patrick, this fault-tolerant in architecture of EOS and SysDB, that's there since the very beginning?
Yes, that's true, right? That was how we started, and we kept that, and we won't change that, right?
And talking about the VEOS virtual machine, can I build like a full network on my laptop? So I can build like a virtual network, virtual switches, routers, and actually even use the actual configuration I have in the network and push it into this virtual architecture, virtual network.
Yeah, basically the answer is if you have enough resources on your notebook, yes. So basically that's one advantage of having stuff also as a virtual version and as a containerized version, because that's also what we heavily use internally, and many customers are using that. So basically virtual OS, it's the same code base, right? Running on multiple hypervisors. So as you mentioned, I mean, you can run it, and I also have running it on my notebook. You can run it on Eve, GNS3, you know, via VMware or VirtualBox or KVM or whatever you want to use, right? And that's really great because you have, as you mentioned, you can try the configuration. You can maybe start getting your hands dirty with EOS. If you're new to Arista, you can play around, right? But you can also use it for building up your automation systems, right? And that's kind of what I also use it heavily for when I try to automate stuff. Doesn't matter if I'm writing Ansible playbooks or maybe accessing eAPI, having some Python scripts or do whatever some customers need. I'm using heavily the virtual stuff, right? And you can build up your EVPN, VXLAN fabrics easily, right? And that's pretty cool. And it's also free, right? So basically we are not charging customers for using that, right? We encourage people to use that. Basically you can simulate your network changes before you do it in your live network, right? If you don't have a complete hardware lab available, right? And not many customers do have that. So basically you can run it, you can have the change deployed in your virtual environment, see what kind of changes are really happening. Is it really what you are expecting, or do you have to tune your configuration, your change? Is your playbook running properly? You know, I think it's pretty cool to play around with that in the virtual environment rather than kind of trying and playing around in the production environment, because that might lead to some outages, right? If you miss something, if you have a typo, and that's pretty cool, right? So yeah, you can run it on your notebook as well. You can also run a container, have Docker Desktop running on my notebook, having a more lightweight version. That's pretty cool for automation, building up your pipeline. Yeah.
And we can actually help customers to build the lab, by the way. So we have the resources to do it here in Prozeta. I would like to mention something I didn't do at the beginning to all the attendees, that this is an interactive session. So please do ask questions. We will have like 5 minutes at the end of the session. We can answer some of the questions. So please do ask questions. And I have one question that's very important for all the attendees: products. So we discussed the EOS, but can you tell us more about the actual product appliances, switches you offer?
Yeah, sure, right. So basically, what do we offer, right? Basically, we are using merchant silicon, as some of you guys might already have noticed. So we truly believe in that, because we see really good innovation, and we are releasing plenty of products per year, right? So having new ASICs means having higher speeds, having more throughput, more features, more scale, right? And that's coming every year, right? Because the market here is really great. And what we are offering is basically boxes for different use cases, right? So basically, we have on the left side here, basically our 7050X boxes, pretty classic, Trident 3 based, the X3 ones. Basically, you can use those as a leaf in the data center, but also in the campus, right? We have dedicated PoEs boxes, the 720X, and also a chassis, the 750X, which is providing you 48, 24, 48, or 96 PoE ports, right? That's pretty cool. Having the same ASIC, right? So basically, you have the same ASIC, you have the same software. Doesn't matter if you go for a chassis, doesn't matter if you go for a box, a pizza box, right? And on the other side, I mean, we have also boxes for high frequency trading, right? Really kind of what we call layer one switches, where we connect the circuits together in the backend. We have the 7280R series, which is our Jericho product line, and you can use that for peering. We can have full feed routing table in there. You can use it also because there are deep buffer boxes for storage leaves as well in the data center, right? And the cool thing is we have different boxes with different ASICs for different purposes. So we can find the right box for the right use case for your customers, right? But still, it doesn't matter what you choose, you will get the same operating system, right? You have same configuration, same look and feel, the same high quality, same automation approach across all of our portfolio and all of our platforms. And on top of that, right, and that's really pretty cool, you have a single management system for all of the boxes, right? Doesn't matter if you want to run our EOS virtually in the cloud or here on the hardware, right? So you have the same configuration, you have the same streaming telemetry data, right? And that's pretty cool, right? So remember, it's really a choice of, you know, do I want to go with a chassis because of scale, right? Do I want to go for pizza boxes for more flexibility, for example, or because port count is enough? And then kind of talk to us or to you guys, right? Prozeta to help the customers really find the right box for the use case. And it's not really depending on the vertical. It's more about the use case, about the technologies, right? Having said that, I just want to mention that because in the upcoming webinars, we will have a campus webinar. We have a really solid campus portfolio, including access points, Wi-Fi 6 access point, the AX stuff, right? We also have the 7050X3, which we also use in the data center as a leaf box or as a spine box, for example. We have the same box in the campus as well, right, for using it as a campus spine or campus box, right, if you need it. But on the same, and also the 7300, which is kind of the modular version of that, we have kind of the same stuff for our PoE switches, right? As I mentioned, from 24 up to 96, right? Or if you need more, go with a chassis, right? Same ASIC, right? Same functionality. That's pretty cool, right? And on top of that, exactly same monitoring system to provision end-to-end, kind of through all of your use cases, end-to-end, kind of the portfolio.
We'll definitely talk about Cloud Vision and the management in the next webinar, because Cloud Vision, I think that we need to actually show Cloud Vision to how powerful it is.
Absolutely.
Patrick, where this all goes? I mean, does it go to, you know, higher port count, higher port speeds, more density, or what we can expect from future products?
Yeah, I mean, I would say all of that, right? So basically, just to mention, I mean, the R series for our routing use cases, and here you can really see it pretty well where kind of the travel goes, right? So basically, we have now options from 10G, right, and kind of 400G, and 400G is not kind of the future; it's the present, it's now, right? We already have 400G products since last year, right? We were the first company on the market shipping 400G boxes, and that's pretty cool, right? And having said that, I mean, where does the kind of trail take us? I mean, in the near time future, what we see is that 100G will be stable, right? So 100G is the way to go, right? It will not deplete, right? But we see with this year and also kind of more in the next year, right? 2022, we see 400G will kind of take off, right? Because 400G and also 800G, which we are currently working on, right? That's providing us some advantages like power saving, right? And higher service speed means we can have higher port speeds, which means we need kind of less power in the system, but still operating at higher speeds. And the same things goes along with our ASICs, right? We see also this year new stuff will be released, right? And that means we have more powerful ASICs, higher throughput, higher port counts, which means lower power consumption. Because think about in the past, for achieving a certain speed, a certain throughput, we needed more ASICs in the box, right? The better the ASICs, more throughput, the less ASICs we need in the box. It means also cost saving for customers, but also power saving, which also gets kind of into cost saving, right? Because less power means less money to spend there. And that's pretty much where we see kind of the way, right? So 400G, 800G, stay tuned, right? We have pretty cool stuff out there. And when we talk about 400G, right, for us, it's not kind of the future, it's the present, right? So I just wanted to highlight, you know, some of the stuff we already have, right? And pretty new stuff is the line system we have, where we really bring together kind of the optical layer inside the box. And we have kind of this 400G CR optics, right? And the line system, which is kind of a modulator inside the box, where you can have multiple 400G lines over the same fiber. And that's pretty cool for data center interconnect. When you want to have multiple 400G connections, but you have only a single fiber, you can kind of get the best out of it without really needing an external DWDM system, for example, right? Because we're doing it inside the box. So really stay tuned on that, right? If you have questions, get back to us. Eager to take it from there and get deeper. And we also have, you know, 32 400G 24 in kind of a pizza box format. Also here, and basically we have OSFP and QSFP DD formats. And also, you know, if you need more ports, right, go for the chassis, right? You can have up to 500, 600 ports, 400G easily, right? And that's pretty cool. And that's where we the future is kind of going to.
Okay, so you have stable operating system. You are the market leader with 100G ports. But every time, or almost every time we talk with customer the first time, he tells us, you know, every vendor tells us the same. We have a, you know, super stable operating system. We have state-of-the-art products. How would you convince the customer that, you know, Arista is the right way to go?
Yeah, I mean,
in just a couple sentences.
Yeah, I mean, true that, right? I mean, everyone is telling that you're the best, right, in the market. But look, I mean, basically, what customers can do on their own, have a look at our software architecture, have a look on the CVEs, right? Basically, not every bug is a CVE, but every CVE is a bug, right? And basically, go to the Mitre site or somewhere else where you can kind of dig into the CV database and have a look, how many CVs did Arista have since the beginning, and I think it was 14, right? And now check the competitors. I mean, basically whatever you want to check against, right? And you will see we have really 5 times less and up to 10 times less, depending on what you're comparing to the competitors. So I think that speaks on its own. And basically, I mean, at the end, I would say, hey guys, try it out, right? As engineers, we like to get our hands dirty. We want to play around with that stuff. And I think a pretty nice start is download VUS Lab for free, right? Boot it, set it up, try it out, right? And you will see it on your own. And I think the story is also pretty complete, right? So we have a broad portfolio, right? With one operating system, which is easing up your life. And I mean, that sounds, I think, really logical. If you have only one operating system and you have to test only one, right? You can do better than having different trains, different versions, and so on, right? Because things getting complicated. And in the end, right, it's pretty much try it out, guys, right? Try it out, play around with that stuff, get in contact with Prozeta or us, schedule a demo, get some equipment, and really try it and make your own picture, because I'm pretty sure that you will pretty much see what I was talking about, right? Having a high quality, having an open system, easy programmable, and that at the end is making our lives easier, right? In operating networks, because that's basically what we are kind of doing.
Thank you, Patrick. Before we jump into the questions we got from attendees today, I would like to welcome Surya Neoji. Hi, Surya. How are you?
Hi, David. How are you? And hello, everyone. Yeah.
Surya, he's the channel manager for EMER region. Or is it EMER? Is it even wider?
Well, I call it EMEA region, not the big countries which require too much attention, like UK, France, and Germany. So they have separate people, but the other region, yes. Yeah. So, yeah.
Surya, I have one question for you. Arista channel, so your distributors and resellers. What's your channel strategy? How you approach this? And another question, very short one. You have multiple product lines. So you have data center, security, campus, Wi-Fi. So what's your current focus from the channel perspective?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, David, for the question. And as you know, it's always a pleasure to attend your webinars. I've been associated with Prozeta for a long time now, ever since I joined Arista. And always it's good to talk to you and to your partners. Yeah. So from my perspective, and I go back a little bit personal, because all my life I've worked for the channel. I'm very passionate about the channel. My personal reason for joining Arista was making Arista more, how should I say, channel focused. Yeah. I come from Aruba, which many of you may know, which is a heavy duty channel driven company. I mean, in the Czech Republic, for example, we have at least 50 people working in the channel. I'm one in the whole region. Yeah. So it was a different, I would say different, from different atmosphere of work. But what I realized was Arista understood that in order to reach the next level, not only being a leader in the data center world of the part of the world, we need to leverage much better the channel. It is not to achieve the scale. We need the right distributors, the right partners, give them the right skills, develop on the right accounts, and then only we try to achieve this scale. Not only for the data center, and I would try to intermingle your question, because particularly with our leadership in campus now, and this is let's say more getting interesting, where you have relatively shorter sales cycles, you have a lot of customers and accounts, and our goal for the channel would be to leverage our let's say campus part of the world, and in addition to campus, we are making a few strategic acquisitions, right? Like for example, over the past 2 years, we have our very recent acquisition is Security Awake, yeah, which nicely complements into our portfolio in both the data center and the campus. A little while back, we kind of, there was an acquisition of this company, Big Switch Networks, right, which goes into the monitoring space. So these, to begin with, this is not only about meeting the data center customers. For security, for example, you would even talk to different partners or different people within the same partners, right? So that is where we look to really accurately leverage the channel to target new accounts and new customers. Yeah. So let's say leveraging our leadership in data center, the innovation in data center, leveraging it well into the campus portfolio, and really integrating it with the security and the monitoring part to provide the complete solution. That is a little bit, if I summarize, the way we are looking at. Yeah.
Thank you, Surya.
Thank you.
But still, I have to say the data center products are, the key part of your portfolio, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because look, this is a market, where, let me put it this way, Arista is a company where till date, if I remember correctly, 60% or even more revenue comes from the US, yeah, which is completely different to Aruba, where 60% come from EMEA. So what I'm getting to, and if I get into breakdown EMEA now, a large part of the business there comes from UK, Germany, countries like that, right? So it means that for me and for us with Prozeta, data center growth opportunity is huge as well. Yeah, it's not only about the campus only or security only, because we have a huge greenfield opportunity in the full portfolio. And this, for me, you can say that, okay, we are at a disadvantage as compared to Cisco or Aruba, but I look at it as an advantage, as an opportunity, that we just start telling the story. Yeah.
We have 10:30, so I will just check the questions we have from the attendees. I have one question, actually for you, Patrick. It's a topic you already scratched a little, and that's 800G. So 800G, when this technology will land into your products. So what are the plans?
Yeah, so basically, our teams are currently working on it and getting kind of ready. But 800G from a standards perspective, it will take a while, right? So I can't name a date, right? But I will see it as in the next 1 or 2 years, right? We will for sure have 800G boxes, as the ASICs are ready, and we just kind of are working on the kind of optical way of life, let's call it like that. And we still have some stuff running already in our lab. So it's not that far away, but it still takes some time to really get to the end customers.
I'm curious, 400G versus 800G. What about the backward forward compatibility? Is it safe to buy 400G product now, or is it better to wait for 800G in 1 or 2 years?
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting question, because what we see is that 100G, for example, is widely deployed now, right? And basically, we have customers reaching kind of the limits. So what we are doing is having a backwards compatibility or forwards compatibility, how you want to kind of tackle that, to 400G. And of course, the kind of wider thought is to have that as well with 800G, right? So it doesn't have, it doesn't make sense to throw out now 400G and kind of reinvent everything with 800G. So that's really our goal. Like we did it from 100 to 400G to also have some upgrade paths with 800G as well.
So thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Surya, for planning. It was a pleasure to have you here. Thanks much for all the attendees for joining us. There will be a recording of this interview webinar on YouTube quite soon. And next time we will talk about cloud vision, automation, and a couple other parts of your portfolio. So thank you very much to all of you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.